What's up, y'all? This is Hammer here again, back with another video. And today I'm going to be talking about black male athletes who marry and date non black women, specifically white women, right? Now, this applies to black male athletes across the board, whether it's in the NBA, NFL, or whatever. But specifically, I'm going to be focusing on the NFL because there have been all of these viral videos, viral topics, because, recently during the NFL draft, you were seeing all these videos of, these black men who were being drafted, holding hands and, hugging and being around their non-black girlfriends. Specifically, there was actually this, video that went viral in which you had a black male athlete that was on the couch. Actually, his mother was right there, friends and family around, and this white girl was right next. And of course, she got drafted, and the white girl was trying to go and hug him, and the black mother was like blocking him, like no, no. So that video itself was very funny, right? Because you could literally see it how more than likely, I believe that white girl was his girlfriend, and the mother was kind of trying to. So you could literally see the physical representation of the fact that the mother and the family probably didn't want the white girl to be there, but it is what it is. But what I wanted to talk about is the fact that I am seeing a lot of black male men who I feel like are not being honest as to why this is problematic. Okay. Now, I understand that when people like Dr. Umar Johnson come out and say what they gotta say. Look, I like Dr. Umar, in my opinion. I feel like Dr. Umar Johnson, yes, sometimes the way he says things is hyperbolic, sometimes he's in a way that's kind of funny. But when you listen to the core, like the core of what Dr. Umar says, what he's saying is actually true. Like the core of what he says in regards to the reality of interracial dating, interracial marriage, the core of what he says in regards to the fact that, hey, we're not colorblind, the world is not colorblind, don't go out here thinking things are colorblind, right? I agree with, right? Sometimes, he may not do the best job articulating it, but the core of it is true. And I felt like when he was talking about this trend, and when a lot of us were calling it out, a lot of black men online, maybe just didn't get it, but a lot of them were just being defensive, And, even this video, I'm sure there's going to be dudes in the chat who are going to say, Hammer, stop dick policing. See, that's another thing I hate that black dudes do, right? Is that, we love talking about how black women and other women are emotional and stuff like that, but then the moment, we talk about the issues that black men have, dudes want to line up in the chat, and start throwing all kinds of harming attacks. And another thing is that it's funny how, when these dudes go into interracial date, it's, stop dick policing, don't tell me what to do, I'm a grown ass man, that's great. But then when they get Jonathan Majored, when them white folks, them non-black folks put hands on them and stomp them out, all of a sudden now they become black. All of a sudden now, you need for folks to come and support you. Stop. But with that being said, go back to the topic. Look, I feel like a lot of black men are not getting it, not understanding it, right? And look, I'm not saying that black women, the black community doesn't have issues. Obviously, every community has issues. Obviously, your black women got some issues. But my thing is that people are not being honest here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive into this topic and really break down to why, black male athletes, there's really no excuse to why a black male athlete should be out here chasing, married or being with a non-black female. Let's just start with that. First, let me just start out by saying this. Before I even dive into the whole video. For all the dudes in the chat, like I said before, who are going to say that I'm dick policing or whatever, great. If you think that I'm dick policing or just telling you what to say, then fine. I just want you to keep that same energy when non-black folks put their hands on you. So if you go out here and you get with these that's great. Go out here and get with these white females, non-black females, great. Great. But when you get your wake-up call over there, when they Jonathan Major, when all of a sudden, those folks stop being colorblind, don't all of a sudden call for our help. Okay, so the same way you didn't want us to quote unquote tell you what you cannot do, great. Keep that same energy when you over there, be being stomped out by non-black folks. So with that being said, keep going. right? So keep that same energy. Don't all of a sudden now cry for help when you get Jonathan Major. So keep that in mind. But going forward into the video, right? The first argument I typically hear from black youth in regards to when they defend, why these dudes are out here, as Dr. Umar Johnson says, bunny hopping, is that these non-black females are less feminist. Look, let me start by saying this. I don't believe in feminism. I don't support feminism. You guys have already know that. I've made videos about this, right? But when dudes make these arguments that, hey, I got an intuition because of the women are less feminist, that's cap. That's dumb, right? Because I've already brought out how feminism is actually an effect of the sort of capitalist industrial post-industrial environment, meaning that as long as a woman lives in an environment that is under capitalism, that has gone through the industrial cycle, then essentially they will be feminine because they are living in an environment that's going to facilitate their independence from men. Because that's what capitalism does. Capitalism creates an environment in which women are able to rely on the infrastructure and be able to survive independent from men. So if you're dealing with a female in a capitalist environment or in an industrial environment, she'll be feminist. So don't think that you're gonna go to non-black females and they're not gonna be feminist. If those same women are in a society that is capitalist and that is industrialized, they'll be feminists. I would say the only place for you to go if you want to escape feminist female is to go overseas to places that are still agrarian. But once again, that's as long as they remain agrarian. The rest of the world is industrialized. So when those places, whether it's in Africa or even South America or in Asia, when they start to industrialize and they start to kind of, climb the value chain, when they sort of take in capitalism, and the infrastructure comes in, those women will also start becoming feminists because they will now be in an environment with access to infrastructure that will facilitate their independence from men. So even I will say as of now, if you're living in a place that has capitalism and industrialized, you're not gonna escape feminist women. That's not gonna happen. The only place for you to go is to other areas that are still agrarian, and even that's not a long-term solution because those areas are still industrialized. And when they do fully industrialize and when they do fully take on the capitalist system, those areas will also have feminist women too. Because once again, feminism is an effect. It only exists in the capitalist industrial environment because that capitalism and the industrial environment is what facilitates that situation, right? It creates an environment where women can be independent from males, right? I will say so that means the only way to quote unquote really stop feminism is that you would either have to go back to the agrarian economic model, which in many ways requires women to rely on men, or you would have to create a completely new system, with or without the help of new technology and technological advancements. And this new system that you are creating would have to also facilitate an environment that essentially that does not facilitate female independence, essentially, right? So either you go back to the previous system or you create a new system that does not facilitate or support feminism. But as long as you live in a capitalist industrial environment, industrial system, as long as you live under the capitalist system, as long as you live in an industrial environment, you will have feminism because, capitalism and the sort of industrial environment is what creates feminism. It facilitates that. So y'all saying that, oh, well, if I just date her, I'm going to escape feminism, that's dumb. That's not going to happen. Now, the second argument that I hear from these dudes, right, is the attitude. They got attitude. They don't look. I will agree that some black women have attitude, and that can be worked on, right? In fact, I will say even when you look at Africa, for example, right? Look, black people, for the most part, if you go to the continent, black people have a culture in which we are more expressive. This is global. If you go to West Africa, you can see it. If you've ever seen two black West African men watching soccer, it's like they're fighting, right? But just having fun. Black people, for the most part, if you go to the continent, you see, they tend to be more expressive. So a lot of times, that may play negatively for black women because when black women are out here speaking, a lot of times them being more expressive can a lot of times be interpreted as them being more masculine, right? Because it's a cultural thing. But that's just how black people are in general, in general, right? But in regards to the argument of, okay, well, black women, especially in the West, are more aggressive and combative. Okay, fine, right? But here's what I will tell those dudes, right? Is this? Here's what the argument falls flat. Okay, why is it that you guys, never want to give grace to your own women, but you expect the same grace for yourself? Because I have seen this. If a black woman were to hop on a TikTok or on a YouTube and say, hey, I got with this white dude because, black men are not building or not producing or not, they haven't accomplished globally what white men have created, right? They're not out here doing what white men are doing. I know for a fact you have all these dudes in the chat talking about slavery, Jim Crow, colonization across the, you have African men talking about colonization, you have black American men talking about slavery. Black men globally will be citing the history as to why, as a group globally, we are in the situation we're in. Right? And of course, black women will give you that grace. But why is it that you don't give black women the same grace too? When black women say, hey, look, the reason why a lot of them are the way they are, right? More combative, maybe less trusting of black women, maybe the fact that they tend to not be willing to invest, they tend not be willing to kind of ride or die like that, or do the things that other not want to do, is because once again they're also dealing with the history of colonization and slavery. So being told that, hey, you're the least attractive, your hair is ugly, you are below other groups of women. You have to deal with the fact that your male counterpart has all these obstacles to overcome, and it's going to be very hard for you to even come across another black man who's out here really succeeding like that, right? All of those things, all of those historical tribulations also affect black women too, and especially how they interact with black men. But it's funny how, if somebody were to bring up the sort of positioning of black men globally, black men have no problem talking about the history and how the historical context help create where we are today as a group globally. But when it comes to black women, no black man all of a sudden now, the same grace that you want from everybody else in regards to why black men are the way they are globally and whether they are, black men don't want to give that same grace to black women. All of a sudden now, the tribulation history, that black women cannot be given the same grace. Right? They cannot be given the grace that, hey, they went through constant through, they also went to slavery, they also went through all type of things, right? They also have, a low self-esteem because of that issue. They also feel like they're inferior to non-black women because they also have certain cultural cues because of that. They also tend to be less willing to invest in the black men the way non-black women do, because once again, they grew up in an environment in which they're told and they see that, hey, your male counterpart is going to go through all these obstacles and very few will make it. So they feel like they don't have that much time, right? So they feel like they can afford to really invest like that. And also on top of that, they're not white. Like, they're not non-black women. Like, they know that there is no safety net for them. The same thing for a black man. So when a black man goes out here, black men already know that you got to go out here and compete. If you fail, the society is not going to save you. A white dude and a white woman can fail 100 times, and society will catch them. But black men know that's not going to happen to them. And the same thing applies to black women too. And those things do shape how black people in general do interact with each other and everybody else. Not only here in America, but on the globe. Okay? So my thing is this. Don't talk to me about the attitude type of things, right? Because all of those things are simply products of the historical legacy that, black people have gone through, right? Let's be honest here. The reason why a lot of black women in the West act the way they do, and even on the globe act the way they do, is because of that history. Now, look, we can say it's a change. We can say we got to work on that. I agree on that. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend as if, the same historical tribulations that affect black men today don't also affect black women. The same way across the West, it's very hard to see a black dude, really out here succeeding like that. due to the historical history, it's also not affecting black women and how and their disposition towards black men too. It's interconnected, right? Because once again, black men and black women are growing up in the same impoverished environment, the same ghettos, the same urban environment, the same race. The going now, you could make the argument that when it comes to black women, they may not get it as hard in terms because of female, but still, we gotta be honest here. So to sort of deal with the second point, it's disingenuous when all these blacks want to cite all this, the behavioral aspect thing. And look, obviously that has to be fixed, but it's quite hypocritical for you to cite those things, but also not cite the fact that a lot of that is also because of the historical tribulation that black people have gone through, not just in America but globally, right? And also, if the same thing were to be said about black men and why they behave the way they do and why they are where they are, you guys would have no problem citing the historic tribulations, but you don't want to give that same grace to black women. That's the hypocrisy I have, right? Do not cite the historic. Black men, do not cite the historic tribulation of black people in order to garner grace for black men's current positioning now, but at the same time, you're not willing to also give that same grace for black women in regards to their current situation. Let's not do that. So that's the second part. But dealing with that part, right? Then we dive into the interracial situation. So first I dealt with the argument in regards to feminism. Then I dealt with the argument in regards to the whole, attitude thing. But what I'm also going to dive into now is the fact that, in general, it's not even a good thing for a black male out here to be in interracial. I have made so many videos I'm covering this, right? One, if you're a black dude, let's say a black male athlete, right, and you get with a non-black female, I hope you understand in the back of your mind that non-black female and her family, they don't really accept you like that. A lot of times, they're really only tolerating your presence because of the potential money you could bring to that family. But if you were an ordinary black dude, like, my thing is this, right? I'll give you an example. If you look, for example, at RG3 and his wife, if RG3 was a regular black dude working at UPS or whatever, would he be able to have access to some of these white females? Of course not. These white girls would be looking at them. So it's like a lot of these non-black females, for the most part, they take a hit from their community by dealing with you. And number two, they would really only deal with you because you have the wealth. If you were an ordinary black, they wouldn't even be around you. And when it comes to the families don't really want those dollars dealing with you like that. If you want to earn a black dude, they would have made it very clear, hey, don't bring that nigga in my house. A lot of these families really only accept you and tolerate you because of the wealth you can bring. But it never really accepts you like that. So, one, when you're a black male athlete and you're getting with these non-black females, you have to understand, once again, her non-black family and the non-black woman herself don't really accept that, right? They're tolerating you because of the potential income and revenue you can bring to the table. That's number one. Then number two, you got to deal with the cultural aspects, right? The culture, that's going to come up too. And a lot of times that will cause stress and incredible strain within your relationship and potential marriage, okay? Then number three, the community aspect, right? One thing as a black male athlete you're always going to be dealing with, right? If you go out here and you get with a non-black female, was that even if you were able to get her and her family to tolerate your presence, the broader communities never will. White folks as a whole, even if they may be your fans, they may like you as an athlete, they will never really like the fact that you are fucking one of the women. That's always going to be something they're going to look at you sideways on. And then when it comes to black people, they're always going to be, the moment you're out here with a non-black female, your respect is going to go down immediately. But the reason why it's dangerous for you is because you're going to end up in a situation like Jonathan Majors, which is that the moment in which something goes wrong or that situation breaks apart, her community is gonna side with her, right, against you, and the black community is not really gonna side with you because they feel like you essentially left the group. That's essentially what Jonathan Majors went through, even though he's not an athlete, but a similar situation, right? When the situation with the white girl ended, and essentially the white community turned on Jonathan Major and used the controversy to go at him, right? He realized, oh, white folks are coming at me. And when he tried to go towards black people would not really welcome that because he was out here wandering with his white girl. So he had to go and get Megan Good to try to get back in good graces. That's where you end up essentially on an island by yourself. Now, don't get it twisted. That non-black female, she'll get hazed and she'll get shamed for even dealing with you. For example, the white girl Jonathan Mitchell was dealing with, like, even now, like, white dudes are still online talking about, burn the coal, pay the toll. Like, they still haven't gotten over that. But even though they don't haze her, they'll still check you and make you an example. So another reason why I should be doing it is that you're never going to get over the fact you come from different communities. And if anything goes wrong, or the moment shit hits a fan, you'll be the one left hanging the bag. Her community will turn on you, and your community is not really going to back you like that. But another thing that I also want to dive into in regards to when it comes to these non-black athletes and them marrying their non-black females is that overall it's not even a long in the long term. It doesn't even benefit you. I'm gonna give you an example. Look at Pat Mahomes. I think his name is Patrick Mahomes. Y'all come from wrong. Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes. His father was a black man. His father was a black man, right? Who got married to a white female, and I believe his father was also in the NFL, right? Y'all come from wrong, but I believe his father also in the NFL. So you have a black man who gets married to a white female, gives birth to Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes gets married to another white female, and now the kid, since she's white. What these dudes are not thinking about is that, in addition to all of the other factors I listed to you in terms of the family not really accepting you, the cultural differences, like, you essentially are never going to be able to get over different communities, meaning that if anything goes wrong, her community will turn on you. And in addition to all of that, in the long term, it's going to backfire, because if your biracial child goes and also dates out, that's over. Your lineage is done. You now have officially completely, whatever wealth you've garnered has now completely made its way into that community. I'm like, Patrick Mahomes is literally a physical example of this. His child is white, essentially. And if Patrick Mahomes' white child gets married to another white person, now you're going to have a situation in which whatever wealth Patrick Mahomes' black father had, that wealth now is going to end up in a completely white family with the grandkids. So the Patrick Mahomes' father was a black man, and now his great grandkids could now be a whole white family with wealth, like with his wealth. Like, what? Like this one, like when Dr. Umar says what he said, like, yes, sometimes he's hyperbolic, like a lot of what he says is true though. Cause like Patrick Mahomes is a literal physical example of this. Like, you're literally seeing in real time how the wealth of Patrick Mahomes' black father is literally gonna end up in a whole white grandchildren. Come on. So all of these things are the reason why I keep saying. And by the way, the same thing applies to black women who did. I've talked about this too. But today we're gonna focus on black men. Is that a lot of you guys are so desperate to justify going out here swirling, like you don't want to be honest. But see, here's what gets me so mad about the situation, right? Is that all of these dudes who want to talk about how stop dick pulling up, I'm colorblind. They only say this until stuff hits the fan. I've noticed, right? As long as everything is good, it's going with Becky. I'm gonna give you that. Jonathan Majors, right? Let's bring it back up. When Jonathan Majors was that white girl, he was colorblind. But the moment in which, he was caught up, Jonathan Majors went from being a colorblind, actor to all of a sudden in court, he's talking about, I'm facing racial discrimination. All of a sudden, now he saw color. But I'm like, I said, wait a minute, Jonathan. That's not going to work. That's not going to work because, once again, it's going to be hard for you to go from you a colorblind to now all of a sudden now you want to see color. That's not going to fly. Now, luckily for Jonathan Majors, recently, the court decided that recently, the court decided that he was not going to get any jail time, so that's good for him. But I guess, all that really tells me is that I was correct, which is that them going at Jonathan Majors was really them essentially telling him, hey, nigga, stay away from my women, right? And because he's been going to court with Megan Good for so long, they were like, okay, this nigga got the message, so we'll kind of let him with a slap on the wrist. That's what that sounds to me. But nevertheless, the point I'm making here is that all these black men, they all want to be colorblind until race slaps them in the face. Right? When they're snowing up with Becky, with Mei Ling, with Maria, it's all good and fine. But the moment I literally saw someone to tell me, right? I think it was another live stream where he was talking about how, hey, I went out here and I married a white woman, and I got to deal with racism from the wife. I'm like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck made you think that her white family wanted you? It's like, the fact that as a black man, you really thought you were going to go out here and marry into a white family and the white family was going to be a complete okay, that's insane to me. Even I know that, yeah, if I go out here and interracial date, I got to deal with the racist family members. But a lot of these dudes don't tell you the truth. They're honest. Tell the truth. Not the vast majority of folks out here don't want you over there. Now, they may tolerate you because you're RG3 or you're Jonathan Majors, but the moment stuff is offended, the moment things go left, they'll throw you over the bus. That's what gets me mad about these dudes talk about, stop dick policing, lovers love, because they only say that until stuff goes left. And then when things go left and shit hits a fan and the black card gets pulled, all of a sudden now, like Jonathan Majors, they go from being colorblind to being, Black Panthers. Oh my God, I'm the system. And the same people like me who they were saying, stop dick policing, they now want people like me to come and quote unquote save them. We're like, nope. That's gonna be my mentality moving forward. And by the way, look, the same thing applies to black women too. I've seen stories now of black females going out here. There's a viral video right now of this black female who, was talking shit about black men, whatever. She was praising, white men. And then, of course, a bunch of white dudes hop on the panel, call her all kinds of derogatory names, and all of a sudden she's crying. And I'm like, no, you on your own. Okay? Same thing. This applies across the board, right? But the reason we focus on black men is because when we look at the data, black men actually marry out, I think, almost twice as much as black women. So it's not even the same, right? But nonetheless, it's like, I keep telling blacks that folks are not being honest. And when we bring it up, dudes want to cry about it, they want to throw all kind of names and this, but look, we'll tell the truth. And I think moving forward, the model, the stance I'm gonna take is very clear. I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like that's what's happening anyway. Is that moving forward, what I'm gonna do? I think what a lot of people are gonna say, you know what? Go ahead, do what the fuck you want. Go deal with Becky. Go. We're not gonna stop you, but understand, just like with the divestors, if anything goes wrong over there, you on your own. You're not gonna run back. That's really how I'm moving forward. Like, I don't want to hear any black dude complain to me about racism they face within that community. I don't care. You shouldn't have been in the first place. I don't want to hear any black talking about how, hey, I went to a house and her father says, I don't want to hear. Hell, dude, there was this TikTok that was going viral of this black guy talking about how, when he brought his white girl to the house, the family accepted him, and then, when he went to her house, I think the father literally like almost disowned the daughter, and even now the father doesn't want anything to deal with him, and now he wants to cry. I'm like, no, bro, don't cry to me, don't cry to us online. You on your own. Nobody told you to go over there. Why? That's going to be the new model now. I think that's how black people gotta move. That's how I think we're gonna start moving globally. At the end of the day, we're not going to stop you. We're not gonna tell you anything. We told you what it was. You've all been warned. This is what it is. If you want to go out here and step into other communities, that's great. But whatever happens to you in that community is your fault. That's whatever happens with her, you're on your own. This is what it is. Don't come crying back. Same thing with the black women. Don't come crying back. Don't all of a sudden start seeing race. No, keep that same colorblind mentality. Keep that same I don't see. Keep that same mentality when they call you a nigger. Keep that same mentality. Don't all of a sudden bring race because you didn't see race when you were married into the family. See, this is something I have to agree with when it comes to non-black people, right? Non-black people are right when they say that a lot of black men, black people in general, are hypocritical when it comes to race. Because a lot of us will talk about how much we care about race, but we have no problem going into these non-black communities and marrying these non-black families, knowing how those communities are. And then when those communities, behave the way they do, we want to be surprised. But wait a minute. You knew what it was. You knew what you were getting into, right? If you cared that, right? If you cared that much about race, Tyrone. If you cared that much about your black pride, Tyrone, or Mustafa, why didn't you get with your own community? Why are you over here? I mean, and by the way, shout out to Cam 123. He's a Latino guy, right? Who makes live stream about Paso Bros album on stream before, but even he talked about, it's like, from the point of view of non-black people, it's weird, and he's a Latino guy who's like, it's very difficult for a non-black person to hear you as a black man talking about how much you care about race and racism, but at the same time you are doing everything you can to quote unquote admix with their women. That's very difficult, right? Like, dude. Don't talk to me about how much you care about your black race, your black pride, but every time I turn around, you're trying to holler at my woman. That's how these non-black dudes see it. That's how non-black people see it. If you care that much about your race, if you care that much about race, why are you always trying to quote unquote go into these non-black communities and fuck their women? What is it about? So all that backfires. But with that being said, y'all, I think I've dived into it. That's about it. But yeah, y'all, you guys tell me to chat what you guys think. But just, I'm tired of the delusion of a race, and it's getting annoying. It really is. At the end of the day, moving forward, we're not gonna argue. We're not gonna try to quote unquote help you guys see the logic. We're not helping. Moving forward, whether it's a black man or a black female, if you want to go out here and swirl it up and run to non-black communities, that's great. Globally, that's great. But whatever happens to you over there is on you. Don't come back crying. Don't all of a sudden now become. And by the way, same thing happens to black women, right? Look, some of the most pro-black females I have seen are the ones that were essentially, ran through and essentially digged down by white males. I've actually noticed a lot of them who are super pro-black male. If you look at the history, right, they'll tell you, originally they were colorblind. Originally they were, love is love, and then, when they went out and came across a white dude and I'm free, I'm swirling it up. That white dude essentially, man, fucked them up so bad, dick them down, use them for sex, thought, got everything down and hopped. And then when she realized that she was nothing essentially, but when she realized that she was nothing but a concubine to this dude, she was hurt. All of a sudden now she pro-black. Right? Same thing with these dudes, right? Jonathan Majors, when they were out here, getting with these non-black females, love is love, right? But when they get a wake-up call, when these non-black communities check you and say, hey, nigga, you're in our community. Because black men need to want to say, when you go into their community, like, that's actually embarrassing. You're in their community now. That means they will, if you get out of line, they will check you. They'll remind you, hey, dude, you're in our community. You left your community to come to our community. Okay? Don't forget that. We can expel you whenever we want to. Sit on the majors. You're fucking our women. Okay? Calm down. You're below the men here because you're over here with our women. You're not over there with your community. You're over here with our women. And then when they get checked like Jonathan Majors, all of a sudden now that they're pro-black, all of a sudden now, I need a woman who's like Coretta Scott King. It's so funny. But with that being said, y'all, I'm going to leave it there. But yeah, moving forward, whether it's black men or black women, if you want to do that's fine. By the end of the day, anything that happens to you in these non-black communities is your fault. Right? And don't all of a sudden turn back and try to be pro-black. It's not going to work. If you go over there, if you stay over there, whether you're a black female or black male, that's fine. But everything that happens over there is your fault. It is what it is. But with that being said, y'all, tell me what you guys think in the chat. Like, share, subscribe, hammer out.